What's up, guys? Welcome back. So you guys have heard by now, we are getting a droid rework with General Grievous, getting a nice rework, much requested. We're also going to be seeing reworks for the B2 battle droid and the Magna Guard as well. So 3 droids are getting reworked at least in this upcoming update for February. We're also going to see some new droids, the Droideka and the B1 battle droid. And the way they're talking about the B1 battle droid, it sounds like we're going to see something similar to the Night Sister zombie, talking about how it constantly comes back and it's persistent. So probably going to see a self-reviving mechanic like that. We don't really know how the Droideka is going to get released into the game. They didn't really talk about that in the road ahead. They did say the B1 will be a marquee event, but they have not said anything about how the Droideka will get released into the game. So we don't really know about that, but for this video today, I want to talk to you guys about how to prepare your droids for this upcoming rework. You know, talk about some of the droid options you guys can use if you can't afford to go for the B1 and the Droideka, if you're just going to be able to have to work on the Magna Guard, Grievous, and the B2, or just, you know, some other droids we have out there already in the game. They're very good, they're very solid, and they have a lot of good droid synergies. So I want to talk to you guys about all that today, and just, you know, just talk about all that stuff with this rework. And you guys may notice at the end of the road ahead, you have this line saying, "You hear that, meatbags? I will be back." That seems to hint that we've seen something with HK-47. Though I feel we'll probably see that with the Darth Revan rework, or the Darth Revan introduction to the game, which we'll talk about that here in a moment, but I would not count on HK-47 being a central part of this rework for droids. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our droids and talk about why or how you should take steps to prepare, and whether or not it's something worth investing in if you can or can't go for Darth Revan. Now, for those of you who haven't heard about the rumored Darth Revan coming out here in the future, there has been a leak coming out, and while I can't say this leak is accurate or not, I can say for sure that this is the same person who did the 3-month leak that had, you know, the Grievous Rework, Millennium Falcon, C-3PO, Chewie, Jedi Knight Revan. Everything in that 3-month leak was pretty close to being accurate, so I have a feeling that this leak is going to be pretty accurate as well, which then calls into the question of, should you invest in Grievous if you have Darth Revan coming right around the corner? And my answer for this is going to be that only invest in these droids if, one, you cannot commit to the gear, the Zetas, and the characters needed to farm Darth Revan. Darth Revan is probably going to be a journey character. We're going to need those newer Old Republic characters. And 2, if you can afford to invest in both Grievous and the Darth Revan factions with Sith and everything, by all means go for it. But don't prioritize Grievous over Darth Revan. If you can only focus on one and you can still get Darth Revan, I'd much rather you go for Darth Revan, because Darth Revan's probably going to be much more meta than Grievous. Grievous is still going to have some great synergies. He's going to be a great character. You know, your droids are still going to be really solid, and the rumor is that they're going to have great anti-Jedi counters, so they're going to be able to tear apart a Revan team pretty easily. But I think that if you have to go for one or the other, Darth Revan's probably going to be your safer bet for that. Now, for your droids, you can see I've got the 3 that are confirmed for the rework favorited up here: Grievous, B2, and the Magna Guard. They have been confirmed to have reworks, but you can see my Magna Guard not very well geared. He's one of those characters I've neglected, and he's only gear level 8. And it's going to take a lot of Carbantes and stun guns and stuff to get him up to gear 10 or 11. And gear 11 is probably where you're going to need to go for these characters to start with. So, you know, there is a pretty hefty gear wall for these characters. And that calls into the importance of other characters that we have here, some of these other droids that have really great synergies. Because we've actually been able to find that a droid team does really well for a while now, because of certain characters that have been added in of late. So if there's any character you have to work on, it's obviously going to be General Grievous. Now, Grievous is going to be the central part of this rework that has been confirmed as much, and if you are going to be working on Grievous, you need to go ahead and save up 2 Zetas for him. If you go and look at his kit, you can see his leadership has a level 7 max ability, so there's room for a Zeta there, as well as his tactical retreat unique ability, also level 7. So there will more than likely be a Zeta for both his leadership and his unique, the tactical retreat. Both those are more than likely going to get Zeta abilities. Now, if you do have to start investing in gear, gear 11 is going to be a great place to start with Grievous. And, you know, we don't know what all is going to get changed with Grievous. He could very well still likely be an attacker. An attacker seems to be the best bet for him. So we probably won't see a huge, massive overhaul that changes him from like a attacker to a tank or support character. He'll probably still be an attacker. And B2 Super Battle Droid, already a pretty solid character. I mean, his AoE Dispel, which can remove buffs, and then can also apply buff immunity, that's very solid. I don't think we're going to see much of a change here with Mo down, but we'll probably see him get some better damage, because right now his basic hits like a wet noodle. There's not a lot of damage behind the B2 Super Battle Droid, and I honestly expect that to change. It was a very strong character in all the Clone Wars lore. It was a very deadly droid, and we honestly don't really see that with the B2. He was never really something that was like, oh my gosh, he's an absolute monster. I will probably expect to see him change from a tank to maybe an attacker, or if he does stay a tank, maybe he's going to get some kind of toughness synergies that really makes him a lot more durable and a lot more of a threat on the field. Now, Magna Guard is the final droid that we do have coming for a rework. He's pretty much useless right now. I mean, he eventually gets the ability to taunt if, you know, he hasn't been taking any damage, I believe. Actually, no, I don't think he even has a taunt on his attacks. He does have some anti-Jedi synergy already, so expect that to stick around with his rework if the rumors are true. He's a tank. He doesn't really have any kind of taunts or anything. He's not a lot of damage, so right now, pretty useless character. Expect that to change with him. Expect him to be probably somewhere where he gets an on-demand taunt, or he gets some kind of direct synergy with Grievous. You know, Grievous and the Magna Guards are always together. You've seen that in the movies, you've seen that in the cartoons. They are always together, so expect some kind of synergy where if Grievous is taking damage, the Magna Guard's going to taunt, and when Grievous gets some synergies built off of the Magna Guard. Who knows? Honestly, I do expect that we'll see some kind of synergy between those two characters. Now, those three characters are the confirmed droids we're getting, and you know, not everyone's going to be able to gear them up, and like I said before, there's a lot of carbonics you have to throw on these characters. Now, there is a pretty robust selection of droids we already have in the game, and that is the beautiful thing here, because you have, let's see, there are 14 droids total, so we'll have 16 droids at least by the end of this rework and the faction pass. So with these droids we already have here, who are some great characters to throw in with these droids if you can't invest in all these diverse characters? And the first droid that comes to mind for me, this is one we're already working on for Jedi Knight Revan. T3M4 is a fantastic support droid for your droids. He has a couple of Zetas here that really help build him up and help make your droids very deadly. And the first one, of course, is going to be the Master Gearhead Zeta. Click on the wrong one there. Where droid allies gain 100% of T3M4's defense penetration once you put that Zeta on. Without that Zeta, he already has 100% defense penetration. If you can put this Zeta, if you can afford this Zeta and throw it in with these droids, ooh, these droids are gonna hit pretty hard. This is a lot of defense penetration. This is a great Zeta if you're helping them build up these characters. So T3, solid support character for these droids. He also has a healing ability. He can give them some crit immunity, offense up, heal back some health and protection, and he can also dispel defensive buffs on his AoE. He can also inflict some debuffs, and he can inflict target lock. And target lock's kind of an ability that we've been seeing applied with a lot of droids lately. You know, both T3 and I believe IG-88 also have some target lock, and Imperial Probe Droid also has target lock too. So all of those characters, they have some really great synergy with target lock, and droids as a whole are probably going to see a lot more target lock built in with this rework, at least hopefully. You also have a couple of other droids here that work really great. If you don't have a tank that you're ready to go for, if you're not going to be able to work on Magna Guard, maybe you've worked on L337 as well. L3 is a fantastic tank, can counter, has an on-demand taunt, and you know, she can revive herself. If you have the Zeta, she can prevent a droid ally from dying the first time they fall below to 1% health. She is able to help equalize health, help save a droid. So she's kind of a healer. She's a great tank. She's a fantastic droid for any droid team out there. If you are working on some tanks, or you need a tank for your droid team, L3 by far is one of the better droid tanks out there. But you can't forget about BB-8. Everybody has BB-8 at this point. Everybody loves BB-8. BB-8 is a very interesting character because he has a lot that he brings to the table here. He has tenacity down, he can apply daze, Illuminate Destiny. I mean, what else do you need to say about Illuminate Destiny? It gives so many buffs: crit chance up, crit damage up, offense up, and speed up, all for 4 turns, exposes the enemy team. Your droid allies will gain 80% turn meter and will also gain advantage. The protection regeneration is actually for resistance allies, so you won't get that with your droids, but the covert data transfer, if all active allies are droids, BB-8 gains taunt for 1 turn. BB-8 is almost always going to be using covert data transfer. Only times he won't be is if he's ability blocked or you're popping Illuminate Destiny. So he's always going to have that, and if you do have to get 1 Zeta for BB-8, by all means get this one for your droids. Whenever BB-8 evades, all droid allies recover 8% health and protection. I've seen some people use this Zeta with BB-8 when you're running a resistance team. If they're using R2-D2 in there and they don't have a dedicated healer like Visas Mar, this Zeta with BB-8 has been really helpful for them in fighting the Sith raid. So this Zeta is another Zeta option for you to get out there. There's a lot of different Zeta options out there. I would probably go for this one over the one on L3, because this one's a lot more useful. You're going to actually get a bigger return on it, because BB-8 can constantly evade or gain foresight whenever he takes damage, and of course he's going to then evade attacks, then he's going to heal back the droid allies. So you do have that option, and that's really going to help heal your droids up, and I'd probably go for that over the Zeta on L3. So BB-8 and L3, both very solid, viable tank options for your droids. L3 I think is a better overall tank for your droids, but BB-8 also has a lot of utility with Illuminate Destiny and the covert data transfer and the taunting. I think that they're both really great options, so whichever one you want to go for a tanking droid here, definitely someone you want to go for. And T3, of course, we've already mentioned him with the support. Now we do have some other options here, you know, IG-88, you know, he gives a target lock. IG-86 Sentinel droid, I think is kind of a dark horse candidate for something here because of all the stuff he has in his kit already. His droid squad tactics, he gains stacking crit chance for each living droid ally. This is much like the clone sergeant where he gains bonus crit chance per living clone ally. You have this here with the IG-86. He also gains the bonus crit damage, and his basic has a huge amount of chance of critical hit. 50% chance to land a critical hit with that, plus you already see that with his damage here, his physical offense, I've already got him at 52%. He's going to land a critical hit every time on his basic. And then of course you have his special here with the Assassin's Droid Tactics. It's a 2-turn cooldown, so it's going to go every other turn, and whenever he calls an assisting ally to attack, if it's a droid, they both deal 75% crit damage, bonus crit damage. So, you know, that is a dark horse candidate for a droid team if you do have IG-86. That was a character we used quite a bit back in the day, but not someone that we use so much now. So if you do have IG-86 geared up, then by all means use him on your team if you think that you can find a good spot for him. And of course we do have Chopper as well. There's a lot of droids here that really have some great synergy here. You know, Chopper with his unique, he can assist whenever a droid ally uses an ability during their turn, and then his basic can then give a Phoenix or droid ally offense up, defense up, or speed up for 2 turns, with a 60% chance to also reduce that ally's cooldown by 1. So a solid support droid can also tank. You know, he has that bonus taunt, he has that bonus evasion when he's taunting, and he can also stun some enemy droids whenever he uses his dispel ability. If you run into another droid enemy team, Chopper could be there because he has some great anti-droid synergy. So there is that. There is a lot of droids here to cover, and I mean, at the end of the day, use the droids that you think are going to work best for you. I mean, there's still more we can talk about. We can talk about R2-D2 with the fact that his number crunch, you know, his number crunch Zeta, he gains stacking max protection for each droid ally, and then that Zeta allows him to give out that 10% of his max protection out to droid allies too. There are a lot of options at the droid level for a team that you want to put together. If you can't afford to be going for the B1 marquee event, you can't afford to go for the Droideka, or you can't just afford to go for all these droids that are getting reworked. I mean, the only one that you absolutely, I think, will have to go for is General Grievous, because it's going to be a team that's built around him. And I think that as a whole, the droid faction right now is in a pretty solid place, and once Grievous has his rework, there's going to be a lot of plug-and-play options here for your droids, and that's going to be a beautiful thing here. There's going to be 16 droids. There's not going to be one set team that you have to use. I think you're going to have some flexible options out there. And then whatever you don't use with the Grievous team, you can use with HK-47, because, you know, he also has a great droid lead with the bonus crit chance, the bonus turn meter whenever they score critical hits. So an HK-47 led droid team and a General Grievous led droid team, you're going to have two solid options there. And I think that is going to be a beautiful thing about this droid rework. It's much like we've seen in the past with bounty hunters, where you can have two different viable bounty hunter teams because of their rework. You're now going to have two very viable droid teams as well because of the General Grievous rework. So those are my thoughts on this. Those are my opinions on this. Save those Zetas if you can. If you can only go for one or the other with Darth Revan or Grievous, I'd rather go for Darth Revan. But if you can afford to go for both, by all means invest in both. And if you can't go for Darth Revan, by all means invest in Grievous, because these droids, I have a feeling, are going to be viable for a very, very long time. So that is my opinion on the droid rework. That is some tips to help you prepare for these droids. Save up at least 2 Zetas for Grievous. Save up at least 1 or 2 other Zetas, because I'm sure the B2 or the Magna Guard are probably going to get a Zeta, and who knows, the Droideka and the B1, more than likely one of them is going to have a Zeta too. So start saving those Zetas if you can, and start getting that gear up, and start looking at some other droid options if you can invest in those 5 droids. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and you guys may have noticed I've got a new setup behind me. I am in the process of moving into my new apartment. Once everything's set up, I'll show you guys all that setup and show you guys what's going on there. So keep an eye out for that later this week, hopefully. Apologies, it's just kind of in the middle of moving. I want to at least get a video out for you guys for prepping for the droids. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Big thank you to all my patrons for their donations. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys later.